reading books. On July 20th, 2024, the Bible, Genesis chapter 5. And Chainan lived after he begat Mahan 840 years, and begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Chainan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahan lived 30 and 5 years, and begat Jud. And Mahan lived after he begat Jud 830 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahan were 895 years, and he died. And Jed lived 132 years, and he begat Enoch. And John lived after he begat Enoch 800 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Jed were 932 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years, and begat Mahan. And Enoch worked with God after he begat Mahan 100 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 335 years, and Enoch worked with God, and he was not, for God took him. And Methuselah lived 107 years, and begat Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 939 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years, and begat son. And he called his name North, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and the job of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. And Lamech lived after he begat Noach 595 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Sam, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, this one is a programming book, Thinking in Java. Preface. I originally approached Java as just another programming language, which in many sense it is. But as time passed and I studied it more deeply, I began to see that the fundamental intent of this language was different from other languages I had seen up to that point. Programming is about managing the complexity of the problem you want to solve, not upon the complexity of the machine in which it is solved. And yet, of all the programming language of which I am aware, almost none have gone all out and decided that their main design goal would be to conquer the complexity of developing and maintaining programs. Of course, many language design decisions were made with complexity in mind, but at some point there were always other issues that were considered essential to be added into the mix. Inevitably, those other issues are what cause programmers to eventually hit the wall with that language. For example, C++ had to be backwards compatible with C to allow easy migration for C programmers as well as efficient. Those are both very useful goals and account for much of the success of C++, but they also expose extra capacity that prevents some projects from being finished. Certainly, you can blame programmers and managers, but if a language can help by catching your mistakes, why shouldn't it? As another example, Visual Basic VB was tried to Basic, which wasn't really designed to be an extensible language. So, all the extensions paid upon VB have produced some truly unmaintainable syntax. Perl is backwards compatible with was meant to replace, and as a result, it is often a cost of producing right only code that is after a while you can't read it. On the other hand, C++, VB, Perl, and other languages like Smalltalk had some of their design efforts focused on the issue of complexity and as a result are remarkably successful in solving certain types of problems. Yeah. However, I believe that the Python language comes closest to doing exactly that. C. Python. What has impressed me most as I have come to understand Java is that somewhere in the mix of some design objectives, it seems that there was a goal of reducing complexity for the programmer, as if to say, we care about reducing the time and the difficulty of producing robust code. In the earlier days, this goal resulted in code that didn't run very fast, although this has improved over time. But it has indeed produced amazing reducing in poor development time, half or less of the time that it takes to create an increment C++ program. This result alone can save incredible amounts of time and money, but Java doesn't stop there. It goes on to wrap many of the complexity tasks that has become important, such as multiple multi-threading and network programming in language features or libraries that can at times make those tasks easy. And finally, as tackle some really big capacity problems, cause platform programs, dynamic code changes, and even security, each of which can fit on your capacity spectrum anywhere from impediment to showstopper. So, despite the performance problems that we've seen, the promise of Java is tremendous. It can make us significantly more productive programmers in always creating the programs, working in teams, building user interfaces to communicate with the user, running the programs on different types of machines, and especially writing programs that communicate across the internet. Java increases the communication bandwidth between people. I think that the results of the communication revolution may not be seen from the efforts of moving large quantities of bytes around. We shall see the true revolution because we will all communicate with each other more easily, one on one, but also in groups and as a plant. I've had it rejected that the next revolution is the formation of a kind of government that results from enough people and enough interdependence. Java may or may not be the tool that ferment that revolution, but at least the possibility has made me feel like I'm doing something meaningful by attempting to teach the language. Java SE5 and SE6. This edition of the book benefits greatly from the improvements made to the Java language in what some originally called JDK 1.5 and then later changed the JDK 5 or J2SE5. Then finally they dropped the outdated 2 and changed it to Java SE5. Many of the Java SE5 language changes were designed to improve the experience of the programmer. As you shall see, the Java language designers did not completely succeed at this task, but in general they made large steps in the right direction. One of the important goals of this edition is to completely absorb the improvements of Java SE5, 6, and to introduce and use them throughout this book. This means that this edition takes the somewhat bold step of being Java SE5 6 only, and much of the code in the book will not compare with the earlier version of Java. The build system will campaign and stop if you try. However, I think the benefits are worth the risk. If you are somehow fit, fitted to earlier version of Java, I have covered the base by providing free downloads of previous editions of this book that midway for various reasons, I have decided not to provide the current edition of the book in free electronic form, but only the pre editions. Java SE6. This book was a monumental, time-consuming project, and before it was published, Java SE6, codename Mustang, appeared in beta form, although there were a few minor changes in Java SE6 that improved some of the examples in the book. For the most part, the focus of Java SE6 did not affect the content of this book. The features were primarily spent improvements and libraries features that were outside the purview of this text. The code in this book was successfully tested with a release candidate of Java SE6, so I do not expect any changes that will affect the content of this book. If there are any important changes by the time Java SE is officially released, there will be reflected in the book's source code, which is downloadable from www.midwell.net. The cover indicates that this book is for Java SE 5.6, which means written for Java SE 5 and the very significant changes that version introduced into the language, but is equally applicable to Java SE6. The fourth edition, the satisfaction of doing a new edition of a book is in getting things right. According to what I have learned since the last edition came out, often their insights are in the nature of the saying, a learning experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And my opportunity is to fix something embarrassing or simply to dance just as often, creating the next edition. Produce fascinating new ideas, and the investment is far outweighed by the delight of discovering and the ability to experience ideas in a better form than what I have previously achieved. There is also the challenge that whispers in the back of my brain, that of making of book something that the owners of previous editions will want to buy. This press me to improve, rewrite, and rearrange everything that I can to make the book a new and valuable experience for decided readers. Changes. Okay. Next one, I want to read Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables. Chapter 1. Miss Rachel is surprised. Miss Rachel Land lived just where the unknown main road dipped down into a little hole, flanked with others and neither ladies, eavesdrops and traversed by a brook that had its source away back in the woods of the old shepherd place. It was reputed to be an intricate headland brook in its earlier source through those woods with dark secrets of pool and cascade, but by the time it reached the land's hole, it was a cracked, well-conducted little stream, for not even a brook could run past Miss Rachel Land's road without due regard for decency and decorum. It probably was conscious that Miss Rachel was sitting at her window, keeping a sharp eye on everything that passed, from books and children up, and that if she noticed anything odd or out of place, she would never rest until she had forested out the whys and wherefores thereof. There are plenty of people in Havana and out of it who can attend closely to their neighbors' business by dint of neglecting their own, but Miss Rachel Land was one of those capable creatures who can manage their own concerns and those of other folks into the bargain. She was a notable housewife. Her work was always done and well done. She ran the swimming cycle, helped run the Sunday school, and was the strongest prop of the church at security, society, and foreign missions auxiliary. Yet with all this, Miss Rachel found abundant time to sit for our house at her kitchen window, cutting cotton web quilts. She had collected 16 of them as annual housekeepers were wont to tell in a veiled voice, and keeping a sharp eye on the main road that crossed the hall and walked up the steep red hill beyond, since anon occupied a little triangle peninsula jutting out into the grove of St. Lawrence with water on two sides of it. Anybody who went out of it or into it had to pass over that hill road and so round the ungauntlet of Miss Rachel's all-seeing eye. She was sitting there one after in early June. The sun was coming in and the window warm and bright. The oak on the slope below the house was in bridal fresh of picking white bloom, hummed over by a myriad of bees. These Thomas knew a meek little man whom one people called Rachel's husband was shown his native tramp seed on the hill field beyond the brain, and Michelle Cuthbert ought to have been showing his on the big red brook field away over by Green Gables. Miss Rachel knew that he ought because she had heard him tell Peter Motion the evening before in William J. Williamstown over at Kermode that he meant to sow his turnip seed to next afternoon. Peter had asked him, of course, for Monsieur Cuthbert had never been known to volunteer information about anything in his whole life. And yet, here was Matthew Cuthbert at half past there on the afternoon of a busy day, Pacific, driving over the hill and up the hill. Moreover, he wore a white collar and his best suit of clothes, which was plain proof that he was going out of and he had the bagging and the humor which beckoned that he was going a considerable distance. Now, where was Monsieur Schubert going, and why was he going there? Had it been any other man in a room, Miss Rachel definitely putting this and that together might have given a pretty good guess as to both questions, but Matthew so rarely went from home that it must be something passing and unusual which was talking him. He was a short man alive and hated to have to go among strangers or to any place where he might have to talk. Matthew, dressed up with a white collar and driving in bagging, was something that didn't happen often. Miss Rachel Prader, as she met, could make nothing of it, and her afternoons enjoyable was spoiled.